Hello and welcome to your Urban Connection. Remember, this is the channel that is often imitated but is never duplicated. And this is the number one podcast in the state of Kansas, urban podcast, that is. Now, a couple of weeks ago, ladies and gentlemen, I told you about the RNC was being taken over by Donald Trump's daughter in law. And they had made some sweeping changes in how they were going to operate toward minorities. And they made the decision that they were going to withdraw any outreach programs that they had initiated to Black and Brown people. Well, little at that time did I know that that was just the beginning of what they had in store should Donald Trump be elected in November of this year. So here's what I want to share with you that I found out since that time. It gets even worse. Now, today's news is Donald Trump. If you can see this, I want to put this where you can see it. Donald Trump, okay, what they're going to do is they want to make it so that Donald Trump, if he gets elected, is going to overhaul the Civil Rights Bill and any Civil Rights Act. Now, I want to explain something to you all. And I want you to focus on that one word that I used, overhaul. Now, for those of you that don't know, let's say that your car, in your opinion, is running bad, and you want to overhaul the car to make it run better. Well, to do a complete overhaul, would mean you'd have to go into that engine, the motor, take out all of the old parts, and replace them with new parts. And that would make the car run better. That is what the Trump administration has in store for what they call anti-racist, anti-white racism. Okay? They want to overhaul the civil rights bill or bills and anything to do with the federal government that pertains to, let me make it right here. According to an Axios report, Trump's inner circle of ghouls is trotting out a policy to protect tender-skinned whites who have suffered because of corporate and federal programs that seek to level the playing field for highly qualified people of other races who have been historically denied opportunities at the highest levels of society. Now, I want to go back to that word protect. So they feel that the Civil Rights Bill and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is taking away or has taken away the rights of white people in the United States, okay, in favor of people of color, blacks, browns, Asians, whatever, okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to focus on that word protect, okay? Because that's a word that really, really strikes a nerve with me. Because I want to ask if white people feel the need to be protected, I ask the question protected from what? And I have several other questions to follow that up with. Has white people in this country ever felt the need to be protected from banks providing them with loans for homes, for cars, for businesses, for remodeling homes, purchasing second homes? Have they ever needed protection from banks? If white people ever needed protection from getting an education from the school of their choice, if white people ever been faced with having a governor stand in the doorway of a school they were trying to go to, you know, have whites ever needed protection from black people, Asians, Hispanics, whatever, stealing their farmland? You know, baby, ladies and gentlemen, back in the 40s and 50s, there was about 950,000 black farmers in the United States. As recently as 2017, that number had been reduced to about 17,000. No, I'm sorry, 35,000 in 2017. Now, what happened? You see, the black farmers had millions of acres of land stolen from them by whites. So who needed the protection? Did white folks need protection from their land being stolen? I don't think so. You know, uh, have white people ever needed protection from being able to get the job of their choosing with less education, mind you, than people of color? Have they ever had a problem like that? Have white people ever had or needed the protection from being able to buy a home in any part of the city, in any state in the United States? Have they ever had to need that kind of protection? Have they ever had restrictive covenants in new developments that stated that these houses could not be sold to white occupants? You know, I don't see the use of the word, I don't see where that word protect fits in this equation. They have been privileged ever since I have been in America, and that's all of my life. Okay. They've never needed protection from anything. They could go anywhere, do anything, obtain anything that they wanted to, and they didn't need any protection. They did it because of their white privilege. They were never brought over here on boats against their will, forced into slavery, and the only jobs they could attain was picking cotton, okay, for the white slave master. So what do they need protection from? What is it that they can't stand about leveling the playing field so that black people in this country can afford to have some of and enjoy some of the same benefits, and I'm not even going to use the word privileges, but benefits of the opportunities that they are presented with on a daily basis. You know, when it says here, they want to turn back because whites have suffered because of corporate and federal programs that seek to level the playing field. And that's what they can't stand. They don't want a level playing field. Now, I don't care what they say, they will lie every single day and tell you they're not against leveling the playing field. But they feel that blacks are taking away their rights, even though here we are in 2024 and blacks only control about 3% of the wealth in the United States. So, what protection do you need? You want us to be on bended knees without anything, to be totally subservient to you and your wishes? That's certainly the way it seems. Now, I'm going to tell you to be factual, ladies and gentlemen. And I've been saying this for a very long time. And I understand that white people, white supremacists, feel that blacks are only entitled to certain jobs, only entitled to go to certain schools, only entitled to live in certain areas, only entitled to do the things and occupy the jobs that most whites don't want. They don't want you to drive new cars. They don't want you to live in upscale residences and upscale neighborhoods. They don't want you to go to school with their privileged white kids. They want you to be subservient, dependent totally on them for anything and everything that you obtain. Now, so when I hear that this is what Donald Trump has in store if he is elected, it sends chills down my spine. And it should send chills down the spine of every red-blooded American because of the fact that I have been saying this for a long time. Ladies and gentlemen, for a long time, white supremacists, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them, have felt that black folks were beginning to climb a ladder that they didn't want them to climb. And I'm going to be honest with you. One black man reached the top of that ladder in 2008. As far as they were concerned, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. What am I talking about? Well, you know what happened in 2008. After having 44 white male presidents, we finally had a black male. And as far as they're concerned, that was taking it too far. That was never supposed to happen. Because in the mindsets of those privileged white supremacists, a black man was never supposed to be the president of the United States. He was never supposed to enjoy the title or wear the title of the most powerful man in the world. And with the election of with the election of Barack Obama, okay, that upset the apple cart. Now you think about it. Ever since 2008, the white supremacists in this country have been upset, devastated, mad as hell, and out for revenge. And how do they want to do that? Well, they want to roll back the clock, turn back the clock to 1964, 1963, before the Civil Rights Act, before there were any federal programs, before there was corporate programs. You see, this is why it's so very important. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why the Democrats who count on the blacks and brown people to be the backbone of their party, why they won't focus more on the Supreme Court when we have presidential elections. Now, I found fault all along with, I'll go back to Barack Obama Didn't never talk about the Supreme Court. Hillary Clinton, when she ran, she never talked about the Supreme Court. Uh, we've not had a president, a Democratic president. Biden is the same right now. He's not talking about the Supreme Court, even though every Republican that has run since 2000 has talked about the Supreme Court. They want a conservative Supreme Court that basically they can count on to do what the legislature cannot do. And the prime example of that is when Donald Trump ran for president in 2015. He continually harped on the fact that he was going to support and appoint conservative right-wing judges, Supreme Court justices. And the reason for that was there's certain things and certain acts and bills that he wanted to reverse. And the big one, of course, was Roe v. Wade. He made it a point. He's told you what he was going to do, and he did it. And yet, Democrats never talk about the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is the one that does the most damage to programs and bills that affect women and minorities. Now, women are learning, but it seems to me that the Democratic Party is not learning fast enough. And minorities are not learning the real importance of having liberals on that Supreme Court in numbers. Of course, naturally, if you can have majority liberals, it's good. But right now we have 6 right-wing, ultra right-wing conservatives and 3 liberals. And you're never going to get benefits of programs on the federal level and corporate level out of this Supreme Court. Okay? Now, they've already gutted the Civil Rights Act, which we took for granted. We thought it was here, just like women thought Roe v. Wade was, a done deal. We never had to worry about it. We thought the same thing about the Voting Rights Act. That was passed in 1964. Here we are in 2024. But it was in what, 22, when the Supreme Court gutted it? And now Trump is telling you that if he's given another opportunity, he's going to finish what he started. And he's going to overhaul, I'm going to use that word again, he's going to overhaul the Civil Rights Act. The civil rights laws. It's going to overturn them. And with the help of the Supreme Court, ladies and gentlemen, they can do an awful lot of damage. I mean, they can turn back the clock to 1964. And yet, there are some stupid, I'm going to use that word, stupid people of color that are licking the boots of Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And they have no idea what they're asking for. They have no idea who they're getting in bed with. Because Donald Trump will grin in your face and stab you in the back every single time. Now, you got to understand something. If Donald Trump will do that to white people, he won't hesitate to do it to black and brown and Asian people. You need a few examples? Well, let's take a look. How loyal has he been to Rudy Giuliani? Rudy Giuliani, who's been ruined now because of his association with and his loyalty to Donald J. Trump. And now, today, Rudy Giuliani is on his knees begging Donald Trump to pay him the money that he owes him because he is bankrupt or nearly bankrupt and doesn't have any money because of legal fees and plus the fact that he's owes a judgment to two black women for $148 million. Donald Trump could care less about Rudy Giuliani. He's gotten everything that he wanted and needed from him. He has no more use for him. Now, I want you people to think about something. Donald Trump is so dangerous to America that if he gets elected again, he's already letting you know that he's going to fill the swamp again with criminals. And let me tell you who they are. Roger Stone, convicted criminal. Paul Manafort, convicted criminal. Mike Flynn, convicted criminal. I can't think of it. Lewandowski, uh, um, and several others. These are people that are been convicted. Now I want you to understand something. Under Donald Trump's presidency, more people were convicted of crimes than any other administration of any previous president in the United States. And you know what? Donald Trump is not finished. If he gets another term, he's going to finish what he started. And what does that mean? That means doing away with the IRS, the CIA, maybe the FBI, and who knows what else. Anything and anybody that gets in his way. And as far as he and his people are concerned, black folks and people of color are in their way. They need to protect those people. They need to protect the jobs for privileged white males. Now, they don't really care about white women, all right? They've proven that. Their attitude is America was built for white males, privileged white males who just can't get enough of power and privilege, and they want to control everything and everybody. And when they see federal programs that are instituted by the federal government and corporate entities who want to try to do their best to provide some opportunities to level the playing field for people of color, white supremacists, and Donald Trump cannot stand it. Now, let me give an example. This white savior initiative is led by long-standing white supremacist Stephen Miller. You remember that guy? Okay? Who founded America First Legal, which he previously described as conservatives' long-awaited answer to the ACLU. This policy will aim for programs like NFL's Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview at least two minority candidates for head coaching jobs before making or announcing a final decision. Now, why was this rule put in place? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to tell you that the NFL is comprised of probably 60%, 65%, maybe even 70% of black players. And yet, you can count on the number of black coaches in the NFL. The same holds true for the NBA. Okay? But you see, even if they have one, for these white supremacists like Stephen Miller, that's one too many. They want complete control and complete dominance by white males. Okay? So people like Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Clarence Thomas, Ben Carson, Donald uh, Byron Donalds, Candace Owens. You see, those people are all too dumb and too stupid to understand that Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about any single one of them. And as I said before, Tim Scott is so naive that he believes that he would be accepted or is being accepted by these white nationalists and white supremacists. And he's so naive that he believes that Donald Trump is seriously considering him for his vice president. Well, if Donald Trump was seriously considering him, why would Donald Trump in the last 2 weeks start talking about Marco Rubio? If Tim Scott thinks he's got this locked up, why in the hell would Donald Trump, who was the biggest critic of having a black man in the White House, put Tim Scott in a position to be in the White House? Why in the hell would he be that naive to think that can happen? And yet, everything Donald Trump and his cronies are saying, or his ghouls, everything they're saying here is saying just the opposite. Now listen to this. Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chun told Axios, as President Trump has said, all staff, offices, and initiatives that are connected to Biden's un-American policy will be immediately terminated. Now, what is he saying? He's saying all of the opportunities and all of the bills that Biden has put in place to benefit Blacks and Hispanics and Asians will be terminated. So now, folks, you can go and you can support and you can vote for Donald Trump if you choose. But if you want to put yourself in a position to undo all of the opportunities and all of the civil rights bills that your forefathers died for, go right ahead. And I guarantee you, you'll be back living in the 1960s within 90 to 120 days of having elected Donald J. Trump. However, I live by this motto. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That was true yesteryear. That is true today. So I can tell you, I can inform you, and I can educate you. But I can't make the decision for you. But you can't say that you didn't know, because that's what I have just done, is giving you information and education, knowing full well that what you do with it is up to you. See you next time. Thanks for watching.